Coach, a little bit different weekend, 5-0, 5-1. You guys have been pretty much in these games until this weekend. I guess take us to the weekend and the 10 goals that Lake State was able to score.
Yeah, the first night, as you mentioned, as oddly as this will sound, I think it could have been 5-0 the other way. They won on their special teams, and we got goaltending. It's that simple. But for the first time this year, we outchanced the team. We outshot a team. We won the faceoff dot. I think the scoring chances after 2 periods, grade A scoring chances, were 19-9 for us. And we weren't able to capitalize. So, again, I've been saying all year long, it's about the process, not the results. And for us, first time out shooting, chancing teams are positive. And for the most part, I think our PK's been good. Our goaltending's been really good. That night, they were off. And when you're off that much and teams capitalize, you're not going to win too many games. So, yeah, I was obviously disappointed we lost, but I don't think the score was real indicative of how the game went. You got to give them credit. Their goaltender played very well. We just didn't capitalize on our chances.
And then Saturday you came out and did score the opening goal.
Yeah, we got the first goal. We played the game on our toes. We played the game the right way. We scored like we were talking about, just creating a little bit more chaos in front of the net. And I think we scored in the first 4 minutes. I thought we controlled the play. But I think what happens there, guys, you have an experienced team and you find a way to extend the lead. And then they scored 2 the last 3 minutes. One was off a bad turnover where we had an offensive zone face-off. We give up a breakaway. Then we have a D-zone face-off. We have blown coverage, and they scored. It's 2-0, 2-1. And I don't think that happens to experienced teams. I think you want to go in after the first period feeling good about your 1-goal lead, knowing that you started the game the right way. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for us. And then I thought they were opportunistic and scored some 2 nice goals. But if you look at the scoring chances the second night, I think they outchanced us. I think it was like 21-18. So it was a kind of a match that way. And you got to give them credit. They capitalized on their chances, and again, we didn't. So we have to find ways. We're not going to be a high-scoring team, but we can find ways of winning games 2-1, 3-2. But we need everybody doing their part and doing their jobs. And if we do that, we're capable of winning some games for sure.
What do you say to the guys, the first intermission there, the win kind of comes out of your sails on Saturday? I'm talking, when you had the lead and it slips away. How do you get them to feel like they're...
Well, you continue to coach them. They're a young team, the guys. A lot of people don't realize we're putting a lot of guys into scoring roles that they're not quite ready for. If you have an older team and a more experienced team, those guys help navigate you through the rough waters. And for us, our lack of detail in those 2 plays, that's what it came down to. Our attention to detail is the difference of your mindset going into the second period. But those are growing pains that we're going to go through. I know people around here might get tired of that, but that's the essence of who we are at this time because of the circumstances, what happened this summer and whatnot. So take our time, continue to get better. We are taking steps forward. The guys they love it here. I keep saying that. They come to work every day. You can see their smile on their faces. They're having fun. Are they disappointed and get frustrated that we could have won a game or 2? Yeah, but that's part of maturing as a team, and that's part of the growing pains for sure.
I'll just get us through this week now. I mean, obviously, Lake State's pretty good. Now you step up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get too far ahead, but it's going to be this way every game. It just is. We told the guys that. Every game is going to be a challenge, and we have to be at our best, but we have to learn through it as well. And now we're going on the road against a very good opponent. Mankato's been really good the last 10 years, and we're traveling on the road. And, we got a little bit battle-tested playing Colorado College on the road. It's a very good team. Obviously, Majkrzak's a good team, but we need all of our guys playing their A or B game to give us our best chance of winning. And we've got to be good in the special teams and our goaltending. And if we do that, we certainly got a chance to win. And maybe it's Friday night. Our focus is getting better in a couple different areas this week. Where we don't have to defend as much, kind of like this weekend. We didn't have to defend as much as we did the previous weekends. We got some more shots on net, and we stayed out of our and for long periods of time. And we're gonna have to do that this weekend as well. We don't wanna spend too much time in our D zone. We gotta get out quickly in our exits, and we gotta apply pressure at their net to force them to defend a little bit more.
You mentioned special teams being big. How are you guys working on the power play? Obviously, it was only the one goal was 5-on-5 this weekend. So, is that an emphasis for you guys, getting better on the power play and figuring out, who's the best line?
Every week, yeah. We work on it every week, multiple times. Yep. All special teams are worked on. And again, those are the great questions, guys, but we have we have freshmen, sophomores that are put in big scoring roles and big minutes that they're not quite ready for, or they haven't even played up until this point. And that's how we sold it. We gave them an opportunity, so we're plugging and playing guys in certain positions, and it is getting somewhat better. We had some really good looks on the power play, some point-blank shots that we didn't convert on. Well, an experienced team or a bona fide goal scorer is going to put those in. And the same thing on the PK. We've been very good, except maybe for one game. And that's because our goaltending has been strong. He's our best penalty killer, and we've did some good things and won some face-offs where we spent less time in our zone. So there's, like I said, it's going to be up and down until we sort through this and get that chemistry, get the deep appearance, and get everybody playing a little bit more consistent.
Is it getting guys in front of the goaltender? Is it better accuracy on the shot? Is it deflections? Well, I guess, what are some things that you're looking for specifically out of the special teams power play?
Just finishing plays off.
Okay.
Yep. And I mean, if you guys were there that weekend, we had like 3 or 4 really, really good looks that we didn't capitalize. And sometimes maybe, I don't think we're gripping the sticks. People go, you're pressing. No, you're not. If you're gripping the sticks, you're not getting chances or those good looks. So the puck movement's been good. We have been talking about getting a little bit more traffic in front. Like we got the first goal on Saturday night. We got to do that on the power play as well. But those are things we point out on video every single week. We work on it. We work on our net fronts, and we work on puck movement. And some guys have a better ability to one-time pucks than others. And if you have a guy that can truly one-time a puck, that's going to increase your shooting percentage and scoring. So we work on that. We talk about it every single day, guys. And all we can do is continue to get the looks, and sooner or later they start falling in for us.
What would a win do for this group this weekend, confidence-wise?
And again, I think we've gotten their heads. Obviously, yes, they would be real confident, feel good about themselves. Maybe that gives them enough battle experience. Hey, guys, we can do this. We beat a good team on the opponent. For sure, that would help us. But it's doing it consistently every single weekend through this growth period, so you become a little bit more of a threat to win games, if that makes sense at all. So, yeah, it would certainly help our confidence for sure, and belief and buy-in and all that. But I don't think our buy-in has not wavered. I see a little bit of frustration here and there, but we handle it the right way. Our group is good. They're together, and they do believe they can win hockey games. It's just a matter of finding a way, whether it's a pretty win or an ugly win. We just got to find a way. But again, it's the process that's important, and I've said this from day one. We really want to look like a team in the second half. And right now, it's been really up and down. You guys have seen segments of really good hockey, right? And I get people emailing me quite a bit. They love our work. We work hard, we compete hard, but we don't always get the results that we want. And they see us getting better every single weekend. But then there's the odd fans. Okay, is this team ever going to win? Yeah, I mean, again, it's about getting better every single game and every single practice throughout the week. And I do believe we are.
A little bit interesting weekend this weekend. Scored 31 points. Team battled through adversity, something that you have been looking for and been preaching all season long. Got it close as 31-24, and then they put a couple touchdowns on the board. I guess take us through the weekend and how the guys fought through adversity.
Yeah, I really like the way that we approached the game. I think guys had a great belief that we could continue to improve and get better, and had a chance to go into an environment that's fairly tough and be able to play well. And so I like the way that we were able to start the game. Had some just challenges in and of ourselves, right? Like Billets kind of held on there for a little while, and then he was out. Had to come in with Austin Riddle, and I thought he did a fantastic job. did a really good job, and then he actually, got put out of the game too, and so we ended up playing Zach Person at quarterback there to just get us through the last series of the game, just so we didn't have to burn any of the young kids. The offense did a good job, put points on the board, did a lot of really good things. I think ran for 324 yards, did a good job in the run game, came up with some passes, when we needed them at times, and it was good. I thought defensively we kind of struggled in some areas. I thought we still gave up some big plays that really hurt us, and it was uncharacteristic of our defense because we had a really good week of practice, and I thought we went back into a mode of just doing some things that our eye discipline wasn't great. We were not fitting simple gaps that we should have been and could have been, and we showed them all that after we got back, and I think they understood it, and for whatever reason we were just a little bit off there, and so the game kind of got a little bit away from us there at the end, and that was unfortunate because I thought we really competed well for a large majority of it.
Carr scores his first collegiate touchdown from Nagani and continues to go through the carousel of running backs that we have.
Right.
You're trying to get everybody in and playing young guys, but I guess, how have your young guys progressed in their 2 and 3 games that they're allowed to play as a redshirt?
Yeah, they've done well. I think every week is just a matter of a little bit who's available, and sometimes it's a day-to-day concept throughout the week, and that's not overly comfortable as coaches, but it's just the way that it's worked out. And so this week, we're kind of still looking at the injury report and the depth chart and seeing what that's going to look like. But, I think the 4 that we will have that go down there at minimum will be ready to go. And so, Jai Wood's been a warrior. I mean, he's been a guy that's stayed in the fight and done a really good job. Vince Martin has done a really good job as of lately. And then we got, of course, Kai available, Tucker's available, and then just kind of waiting on the status of Nico and Elizen to just see what that looks like here this week.
Is there a level of anxiousness this week going into last week?
Yeah.
The possibility of another winless season?
Yeah,
How are you guys managing that?
I think that's very realistic in terms of our guys' minds, and we tried to address that last night in team meeting. I don't want there to be a bunch of pressure on them to feel like we have to win, right? Because with that comes just tension and the anxiety that you mentioned, and I think that just gets guys out of whack. And what I really just tried to help communicate was, let's just focus on this week being our very best week, one day at a time. And if we can just make sure that we're mature enough to focus on our process on a day-to-day basis, we'll be okay. But yeah, I think that's a very realistic concept that they're probably all a little bit fearful of, a little bit worried about, a little bit overly concerned. And, I think if we can just go out there and string together what our best is, we'll be fine.
How about you as a coach? I mean, you didn't want to be in this position.
Sure.
You knew you were going to have to build from not a ton, but just you personally as a coach, do you feel that?
Right. No, great question. I told people probably a few weeks ago, for some reason I've had the ability this year to kind of separate myself a little bit more mentally, emotionally from the win-loss column and be able to focus on just the battles with our team and trying to help them mature and to just, grow and develop and to be able to see maybe the vision of the future a little bit more. I don't know that I was able to do that last year as well. I think last year it was a lot of just bullets flying and you didn't really know what to expect, and then it hit you right between the eyes and it was like, wow, this is a little bit more than maybe what I expected. This year, I think it's just you just try to win the little battles within and try to make sure that the process is a great commitment by everybody, and you just continue to try to learn and grow through it. And everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to go through winless, and yet the future is going to be extremely bright for us. And I think that's something that I try to keep communicating to our team. I think they really believe that, and yet it is disappointing, and you don't want to go through without having anything to show for it on the scoreboard either. So we got to keep working towards that. And I told them, the results on the scoreboard are an indication of how our process is going, and we've got to continue to try to get better and better at that all the time.
What do you see out of Wayne State that makes you happy for this weekend and getting ready for potential victory?
Yeah, I think, it's a team that obviously is struggling in their win-loss category as well. And, I think very comparable in terms of just going out there and competing against another team that don't have a lot of wins to their name. And yet they're going to be athletic. I think they're going to be hungry. They just got their first win this past Saturday, and I think they probably have some confidence. I think they're athletic at quarterback, and I think that's always a potential issue no matter what, type of defense you're playing or no matter what personnel you have. And so we got to be ready for that. But it'll be another road trip that we have to continue to go and play in somebody else's environment and try to do well at. And, I think I'm just looking for our guys to finish well, just put together a great couple days here. We hit the road on Friday, and to really just have a great focus and to, approach the whole week the right way. And if we can do that, I think that Saturday will be a great opportunity for us to take advantage of, and looking forward to that.
Shane, just my responsibility to ask, do you feel safe, or is there any sense that you're coaching for your job or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think it would be, let me speak as an alumni, right? If you blow the whole program up right now again, I think you're continually starting over and over all the time. I think one of the problems with this program in the last 20-some years has been the continuity, the ability to get something stable in place and to keep it going in a healthy direction and to be able to do it the right way. With where we're at right now, I think it's taken courage to do that on my part, to be quite honest. And we've had to build the roster from scratch, essentially, and to try to do it from the ground up. And I really believe that in a couple years, it's going to come to fruition. And, I know the difficult thing is that you can't see the results immediately right now, but within the walls of our locker room and what we've been doing on the practice field and what we go through week in and week out, there's such a healthiness in the program, and there's a great energy in the program with all the players. And, it's a great compliment to our players buying into what we're doing. And, I would say, I don't feel that pressure. I think it would be extremely short-sighted if that was to happen, Kevin.
Yeah.
But, I just think for the sake of the health of Northern Michigan football, we're on the right track. I believe in that so strongly, and we've just got to keep doing what we're doing and continue to do it better and find ways to improve it all the time, because here in a couple years, I think we're going to be able to look back and say, man, this is good, and this was the right thing, and let's stick to what we're doing right now, because I think we're doing some really good things that people just can't quite see quite yet.
Another 5-set thriller for your team on Saturday against Davenport. Take us through the emotions, because obviously Ferris had a big weekend as well. They were able to sweep both of their matchups, but getting that 5-set victory over Davenport, what's that do for your volleyball team as you guys go forward?
So we played 8 5-set matches, so I don't know what it does. We're obviously not learning. It was tough. It was a tough situation to be put in. The GLIAC has these bylaws that say, on Friday, this is what time you can play. On Saturday, this is what time you can play. And we're very protective of that when we're on the road, because we live so far away. And Davenport decided to host a basketball tournament at the same time. And so we didn't get to play till 6 p.m. on Saturday. And so it's not just, you're playing late in the evening, because we play in the evenings on Fridays. It's what are you doing with all that time during your day to stay focused, but not just sit in a hotel room and do nothing. And so to have to come out there and compete, and, we did not play great the first 2 sets. And the thing that I'm, of course, proud of is our response after the second set to go out there and play well. In the third and fourth set, really well. And then that 5th set was just kind of a back and forth battle. We had a lot of momentum, and a couple things kind of stalled the momentum. One of our girls got a bloody nose, which is one thing. There was a questionable call that kind of slowed things down a little bit. But overall, to get the win, we're 7. We've played 8 5-set matches, and we're 7-1 in those matches. So we find a way, but we just keep putting ourselves in these just terrible positions. We have one in conference play. We have one 3-set sweep, Everything else is 4 or 5 set or set matches, and so we got to figure out a way to put our foot on the gas and not let up, or put our foot on the gas earlier. But ultimately, at this stage of the season, wins matter more than anything, and so to get a win, especially when it's a 5-setter and our arrival into the parking lot here was 4 a.m. It would have been a lot more annoying if we had lost. So I'm happy.
I know it's one game at a time, one team at a time, but obviously your focus is GLIAC and then potential NCAA. So how do you go about the rest of your season as you guys go into that moment?
Man, it's tough. I mean, as a staff, I'm, me in particular, I'm hyper aware of our current standing, every potential change that could happen. I'm on the I'm on the regional committee for the NCAA tournament, so I know where we stand. I know what it takes, and I've played every game I could for this is my 3rd year on the rack. I can with the team. Hey, this is where I think we're going to be. Hey, here's what could happen. Hey, this could motivate us, and nothing works, right? Like nothing consistently works, and so for us, I think the one thing that has been most successful is the annoyingly vague response of one thing at a time. Going into this weekend, we got to beat Lake State. They're celebrating their seniors on that Friday, and so they're gonna have a little extra juice, even though they're not playing great. So we got to be ready for that match. And once that match ends, we got to turn our attention to Saginaw. Because one thing I will say with complete certainty, if we lose one of our next 2 matches, we're not getting an at-large in the NCAA tournament. It's just not going to happen. These 2 opponents are not quality enough to lose to them and say, that's okay. And so really we're just going this weekend saying we got to find a way to win on Friday, and then if we do that, find a way to win on Saturday. And if we don't win them, then I just go to the team and say, win the GLIAC tournament, right? And ultimately that's always going to be the answer. The minute we got that bid into the GLIAC tournament, no one can take a national championship away from you as long as you just keep winning. Right? It's hard, but we have evidence supporting that says, hey, we can beat some of the best teams in the country. Beating St. Cloud, who's currently like number 2 in the country. Our 2 matches against Ferris, 0-2, but I think 5 of the 7 sets have been close. So I feel good about where we're at, but we got to perform at this stage in the season.
Is it about imposing your will a little bit this weekend so you don't get into a 5-setter where anything can happen? Is
Man,
that
Kevin,
the emphasis?
You want to go tell my team that? 'Cause I've tried. We try. I mean, we do meditation before practice. We do breathing before every match. We do positive affirmations before every match. We are throwing the kitchen sink at how are we going to be consistently starting on time and competing. And, we just got to continue. The thing is like, you can't stop trying, right? And so I say all these things. It's my job. It's my job to figure this out, right? And how we can start on time in terms of our competitiveness, and then continue to perform, right? And the thing that I think is probably universal for teams, that the quality teams don't worry about who's on the other side of the net or the other side of the field or whatever analogy you want to use. They focus on themselves and what they have to do to be successful. And I think we're still trying to figure out how to let go of who's on the other side of the net, whether it's an opponent we know we're better than and we don't compete as hard because we think it's going to be easy, or an opponent that's maybe as good or maybe a little better than us, and we go out there and say, oh boy, and then you start slow. Right? I mean, look at the results from this weekend. We play Ferris and we play like crap in the first set because we're not ready to play against the best team in the country. Then we go to Davenport, who we're better than, and we play like crap the first 2 sets because we think we're going to go out there and get it done. And so we have to figure out how do we impose our will on a team and just not let up. Because you can't look at our roster with Jackie Smith, all-time kills leader, Megan Meyer with 1,000 kills, Kenzie Gruner, one of the best. We have just a multitude of successful athletes that aren't finding a way to play consistently great. And I'm saying all this being the number 3 team in the conference, a national tournament bubble team, and we're still not there yet. So it's really a matter of between now and the end of the season, how do we harness what we're capable of doing and unleash it in the best way possible?
Sorry to ask you.
How important is it to sweep both opponents this weekend? How does the committee look at such things? Do they
Don't
say
consider it.
5-set, 3-set, or do they just go win-loss?
We're not allowed to consider how the result came. So if we lose to Ferris in 5 and then lose to Ferris in 3, they're both losses. If we beat Ferris in 5, we beat them in 3, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just
Between
literally
lines.
win or loss. Yep, you do not consider that at all. There's just so many nuanced parts of it that you consider. You consider not only who your opponent is, whether you won or lost, but then, if we're comparing teams, like how they did against common opponents. So you have to consider that, right? So I'm just trying to think of a good example. Like teams that played us in Tech, whatever. The point being, they don't consider that.
Sorry to ask about a team on the other side of the net, but how good
Yeah.
is Ferris? Like your volleyball mind, like what do you see over there that they do exceptionally well?
She's got that thing we talked about. What great teams do is they don't concern themselves, across the net. She's their coach Tia is a master of that. They go out there and they don't make mistakes. So I can't tell you how many sets I've been in against Ferris that we've had the lead after 20 and lost because they just make you earn it. And teams that don't quite have it will start to press and make mistakes, and they just wait. They just wait, and they have enough talent. Like they have probably the best player in the conference, so that helps. And Olivia, but ultimately you just go up and you hit the ball and they dig it and send it over. You hit the ball again, they dig it and send it over. You hit it again, and then eventually you hit it out, or you hit it in the net, or you get blocked. And they just go and they go back and they serve tough. And so that's always been a thing. Like if you were to say on paper who are the best teams in our conference, I put Grand Valley first in terms of talent. But Ferris is just the better team, right? And Grand Valley has lost 2 matches against Ferris. One close, the other one not as close. But it's because they forced Grand Valley to be aggressive. I think Grand Valley isn't comfortable playing from behind, and so eventually that's what kind of happens. And so this is, I started my career in college coaching at Grand Valley in 2013. We lost to Ferris in the Elite Eight, or not the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16. And it's just been, they've just followed me everywhere, beaten me every step of the way, whether I was at Grand Valley, at Wayne State, and now Northern Michigan. We've gotten them a couple of times, but ultimately she's put together a team that's really successful and consistent.
Do you think you can get in without winning the GLIAC tournament?
Yes.
So get to a semifinal then?
I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Right.
I'm just telling you
Silly things happen.
Is there a path to the NCAA tournament and at-large bid without winning the tournament? Yes, that path exists for us. That's one of those paths where you look around the entire region and go, okay, well, if this team does this, and this team does this, and this team does this, and nobody gets an upset in their respective tournament, then yeah, we could find ourselves there in the end. And that's what it was in 2022. We made the tournament. We were the 8 seed, and I was watching every single tournament game going, we need these certain teams to win, and it just happened to fall in place. I think our path is a little bit more blurry this year, but it exists. But ultimately, at the end of the day, our path is most likely, Parkside on next Wednesday, TBD, but most likely, Grand Valley that Saturday, and then Ferris. And if we clear the board there, no one can take it away from us, and that's kind of got to be the mindset.
No, what was the first 2 games with this group? What was your big takeaway?
Yeah, I said in a way I'm not looking forward to talking about it because it went too well. We played really, really well. I thought we played as well as I would have hoped we could play in a first weekend. I think we did so many nice things, and it was such a unique, fun coaching experience because we're playing 10 guys, we're subbing in and out, and just how unselfish and how much they didn't care about anything besides winning, how hard they played. We didn't play well, I didn't think, really at any point, and we won both games in a more resounding way than we won almost any game in the last 2 years with really good teams. And I think it just spoke to their level of how hard they played and how unselfish they were. And everything else, we have a lot of room to get better, but if the unselfish and the physical intensity and the mental intensity stay, I'll enjoy most games either way.
What did you see from the transfers, the new guys?
Yeah. No, I think, and again, it's going to be kind of repetitively boring because it's the same thing. It's the being able to use 2 units and play the starters and then sub 5 new guys in, having the second group of 5 new guys include guys that are used to playing 32, 34 minutes a game, not just for a year, but for 3-4 years, which are the transfers in this case. The other teams had some experience in their starting five. But we were basically able to play 2 full college basketball teams that are full of experience. And they also all decided that they were going to play as hard as they could, knowing that they were going to play less minutes. And I really thought by the end of both games, both of the other teams looked miserable and had no desire to be on the floor. Really, with like 12 minutes to go, I thought both teams just were shot. And our team last year would have been shot in the same environment. It was just, and it's the opening weekend, so we'll never get a chance again to wear a team down in the same way as we did this weekend. But the way we were able to just come in waves at people, I was really proud of our guys, and I think it says a lot more about them as people than it says about them as players, being unselfish enough to embrace that.
Before this weekend, have you ever been a part of a game where you did not call a timeout?
Not that I know of, and there was, not only did I not call a timeout, but there was no chance I was calling a timeout. I wish there were no media timeouts. I wish the clock never stopped. I wish there were no fouls. For my own sanity, with us running around the way we run around, I think 40 minutes of running clock would be the ideal way for me to not have a heart attack. On top of that, we can get out of there a lot quicker if that happens. And more importantly, the platoon hopefully can wear people down by doing that. So it's kind of fun. It's so different. I feel like I'm a first-year coach learning all over again because I know nothing about what we're doing, and every day I'm learning something about it. And I don't know. I've predicted that we'd be out of it by the time we got to our second exhibition game. We're now 2 games into the real season, and I like it more than ever. Maybe we stick with it for this year. I didn't think there was any chance of that, but now, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. But I feel completely hopeless at points.
I thought Derek Merrick played really well on Friday night. Big Lozier had a really good game on Saturday. With them fitting in to the second unit at this point, I guess talk about how they changed the landscape of the game. Also, Brandon Trilly on Saturday, changing the landscape of the game.
Yep, I think a big reason why we're doing this is Derek and Biggie coming off the bench and not being typical bench guys, because we want Derek to be able to play like Derek's played his whole life, which is confident, being in charge, having the ball in his hands. But we also want Brian to play like that, and you can't do that. So now we get Derek to be the alpha lead point guard for half the game and Brian to be the alpha lead point guard for half the game. Gerald is, wearing down the other team's point guard, and Gerald gets tired. Steps on the floor, Biggie, who might wear people down in a very different way. He's a little more sporadic with it, but now they have to deal with him. Then he gets tired. Then Gerald comes back. And so, the beauty of it is we don't need to be better than them 1 through 5, but can those two combined, because they're both so good, be better than their guy? And we think over the course of time, more times than not, that'll happen. And it's not that this is not one of our most talented teams. We're probably not going to win every game. But if we can have that energy, that effort, and that togetherness every game, the hope would be that throughout time we win more games than we would lose.
What does a healthy Brian Majkrzak do for this team, especially as you mentioned when you're able to, or you don't have to play him 35 minutes a night?
I think first of all, to keep him healthy, that's going to be important. That's another reason we're doing it. If he had never gotten hurt throughout his career, we'd be playing him 34 minutes without a doubt. The only reason we're doing it is to try to preserve him for the whole season and not let him, wear down by reducing his minutes a little bit. But the second part of that is he is the healthiest he's been. He'll never get back to what he was before his first injury, ever. He's always gonna be a little bit slower, but this is the closest he's been to that. And he's walking around again like he's 7 foot tall, even though he's 6 foot and weighs 140 pounds or whatever. He's back to his shoulders are out. He thinks he's the baddest dude on the floor. And on top of all the rest of all this coaching crap, I enjoy watching Brian be Brian more than anything else that I enjoy with our team. So it's just been really fun to just watch him kind of have his swagger back, his confidence back. And, there's cool parts of our job, and that might be the coolest part I've had this year is just watching him get a chance to be him again and do what he loves again.
By going with this method, and it will happen, and you won't want it to happen, but it'll happen, foul trouble.
Yep.
You're only 2 games in. I know you don't have a total answer to that, but you bring in number 11 to fit in, to keep it kind of
Yep.
equal, or number 12, or
That's a
whichever?
great question. This is fun. I get to talk at depths of platooning. Again, I know nothing, so you're going to hear really intelligent answers. No, I think we don't know. But I also think one thing you can do is you can keep guys in. So Brian and Gerald both had 3 fouls at the start of the second half at about minute 17. I knew they were coming out at the first media, which is under 16. So I knew they're coming out a minute later. I wasn't going to take them out with 3 fouls, knowing I'm going to take them out in a minute either way, because you didn't need to preserve them knowing that if they did pick up 4, all you do is take them out for 3-4 minutes anyways, and that was coming. So I think there's some flexibility in that. B, you are going to have more foul trouble than that, and we have had that. The plan going in was to put 11 in. That's how the really good platoon schools have done it in the past. They've put 11 in instead of flip-flopping the second unit into the first unit. That way you can keep the second unit's continuity going, and you bring 11 in with the first unit. We have 11 guys deep with this, so we may do that. But there are some positions where we wouldn't maybe have the 11th guy to do that. So we would instead have to bring someone from the second unit into the first unit, and maybe then, flip-flop a little bit or cut it to 9 for a game. So it depends a little bit on who's been, hurt, quote unquote. In practice, every time someone gets a little gimpy, I just try to tell them to go off for a couple minutes, purposefully, so we have to simulate that in practice. And honestly, it's more for me than it's for them. I need the practice to figure out, okay, if that guy is in foul trouble or sprains an ankle, what do we do? Obviously, a long-term injury, that's a whole different question and answer. But those short-term ones, I think, are more problematic, because you got to come up with, what am I doing in the moment to preserve the platoon, quote unquote.
Well, Casey, how nice is it in your first 2 games to be able to gut out wins like that? What does it do for a team in their first week on the floor together to be 2-0 and wins like that, where they really had to grind it out?
We learned a lot, I will say that. A lot of things we can improve on, but a lot of things that we gutted out for sure. And it's kind of fun to rely on our upperclassmen a little bit, and I think our leadership, who kind of took over. But we were pretty steady, which is the other part too. We didn't get too up or too down with the way things are going, but everybody contributed and everybody did something both games, and that's kind of what we need to do all year this year, is just kind of figure out all right, who's going to step up and kind of take control. But both games took everybody, including our bench, which was nice to see.
Is defense kind of a big identity for this team? I don't know if it was a lot of missed shots on the other side, but defensively, what did you see, and how was that probably encouraging?
I love defense, and my players would know that. I'm probably more a defensive coach than an offensive coach. So I was very pleased with us, the way we played, and just we learned a lot from our players too, even some of our returners who didn't really care too much for defense last year. They were worried about on the offensive end, which is okay. But they worked together. After watching film, they worked really good together, and I was very pleased with how we did some things and some of our rotations and some of our scrambles, which we were kind of worried about going into over our exhibitions that we had. The first 2 exhibitions, I was like, oh boy, we gotta fix some things before we play. But we came out really good on both sides of the floor, which I was very pleased about.
Let's talk about ball movement. I went back and looked at some of the film, and it seemed like every single person touched the ball on every single possession. How happy are you with the ball movement? And obviously it led to a couple of Alyssa Hill putbacks as well, but talk about the ball movement of this basketball team.
It drove me nuts a couple times because it was too much. So when you can say that, we were almost being too unselfish with the ball, and people weren't taking shots. We were passing up too many shots, is what I kept on telling our players. But yeah, obviously when everybody touches the ball on the court, it's awesome. If you do that multiple possessions, the defense is going to wear down a little bit, and you're going to be able to get those easy shots. But yeah, there's a couple times where I'm like, you need to shoot the ball, and we can't just rely on 1 or 2 people this year. So, but the ball's moving, it's been popping. We talk about it in practice as well, and it's fun to watch just because everybody touches, everybody gets involved, and it's just an exciting time right now.
Gee, as a defensive coach, I would think you'd want the players to touch the ball all the time. You're not in Matt's position, I'm guessing, in terms of platooning.
We kind
So
of
how-
we
so
kind
how-
of are actually.
okay.
We kind of been going kind of the same thing. It's not, I don't think as much as what they're doing, but we've been going a couple couple platoons, yeah, at the same time, and it's just because we are a little bit deeper than what we are last year. We're still trying to figure out some of our new people and how they can fit into it. We got some people playing some different positions than what they're used to, so we're kind of doing the same thing, just kind of ironically that we're both doing it at the same time.
Let's talk about you being the defensive coach, because you looked at Lewis, who put 68 points up on Friday night. You held them to 48, and then the first game that you guys played, they also scored more in the second game. So when you're playing that lockdown defense, I guess what are some of the things that you're seeing and be like, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen? I mean, 48 points in game 2 after they just scored 68, that's a remarkable feat, coach.
Yeah, well, and Lewis is a very good program, so we knew that they were coming in. It was a close game last year too, so we knew they were coming for us. But they had some good pieces that put up a ton of points against Michigan Tech that first game, so we kind of had some people keyed in on. And it was just our length, I think, is a little bit better. We're a little bit deeper. And we're just kind of running around a little bit more. I think we're just wearing people down, and that's fun for me, especially on the defensive end. But we're getting our hands on a lot of balls too, and it's not because we're reaching, like that drives me nuts, but we're getting a lot of blocks, and our freshmen are contributing just as much as our returners, and everyone's getting excited about any little tip. We're taking some more charges than what we've taken in the past, and that just, it's our toughness and our energy, and it's been fun to coach, but it's also something that we've been instilling in practice, and that's where it starts. And I'm really pleased with what we're doing. We still have a lot to work on, but it's our first 2 games, and I'm trying to give a little grace. But yeah, when you can hold people under 50, that's always a really good weekend.
For 2 games.
Yeah.
How about your returners and maybe leadership of your team? I don't know if it's JC or Sarah, the returners that I'm thinking of, but
Yep.
how is the leadership with those veterans on your team?
It's been awesome. And honestly, I mean, Mac didn't start for us either game, and she's kind of leading that second group too. And Kayla, who's a 5th-year senior, she's coming in off the bench as well. But they don't care. They don't look at that. You know, it's like, okay, what do we need to do to help us win? And that's across the board. And if somebody's not doing something, it's holding them accountable. And I think we have leadership that's spread out between our starting 5 and coming in off the bench, along with people who are on the bench who might not see a whole lot of playing time. They've been in the position and they've seen what we've been doing in the past. I rely on them a lot, and I tell them, hey, you guys might see something that we don't see, let us know. And it's the working together and not putting one person or 2 people above anybody else. It's just, hey, we need everybody, every single possession, every single game. We had some people get in foul trouble. I mean, our post players got in foul trouble, so we're moving people around. And it's just helping each other out while they're on the court. And we've talked about leadership a ton and working together a ton, and they've done it. So it's pretty neat.
Feels like a pregame show right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, soccer's getting warmed up.
Yeah.
That's probably what
That
it
must
is.
be their meditation period.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mackenzie Holsworth. You talked about her and she came off the bench, but she also gets extended playing time late in those games. I guess talk about her leadership and her being a veteran and putting her in those situations to stop the other team late in those games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, her defense is what she's done hands down for the last couple of years for us. And so she was battling some things health-wise, so we have her coming in off the bench, and she don't care as long as she plays, right? And that's the best attitude that you can have. So we're putting her on some defensive people who we need to stop at times. But then again, people got in foul trouble, and so, okay, we go with Mac, or, you know, obviously there are 2 close games, so we're trying to put our best defensive squad on to get those key stops down the stretch. But Mac, she is, again, one of those players who's like, Coach, I don't care. Put me wherever you need me. And that's kind of the best attitude we have with her and Kayla and all of our upperclassmen. I mean, JC obviously is going to lead us this year. Sarah's leading us. Alyssa Nims has been doing phenomenal. And she really stepped into more of just a scoring role and a playing role this year than what she's had in the past. So, I mean, again, it kind of distributes throughout our team, which I think makes us really dangerous.
And the best part was your team didn't rely on JC. You talked about
Yep.
JC being the best. Shyiak number 2 to start. She only had 2 points on Saturday, and you still scored 53 and found a way to win.
Yeah, and that's what it is every single game when we talk about contributing. And it's not just offensively, it's contributing defensively, it's contributing getting stops, it's contributing rebounding. The first game, I think everybody grabbed a rebound. So it's a little bit about you doing what you need to do while you're on the court. You play hard, you go hard. If you need a sub, we'll get you a sub. But it's really, I mean, you get out there and you play, and we do what we do.